Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the WTF1 podcast race week edition. Yes, Formula One is officially back. We have only got 3 days as of recording right now before it's lights out and away we go. And of course, it's not just myself to enjoy this with. There's Tom Bellingham, the WTF1 founder, in one of the cleanest, most aesthetically pleasing rooms I've ever seen. And Katie, the WTF1 author. What's the next book?
The Life and Times of Matt Gallagher, the autobiography.
Wow. I mean, people might actually believe
Coming to a bargain bin near you.
Oh, you're going to start with the bargain bin. Okay, fine. Whatever, don't care. Right, before we dive into pre-season Formula One, this podcast is sponsored by Elgato. You may have noticed how much more beautiful we sound and look on Tommy and Katie's behalf, not myself. They've sent us microphones, lights, webcams, and I think we can almost class ourselves as professional these days. So thank you so much to Elgato for sponsoring our season-long worth of podcasts. It's great to have them on board. So big thanks to them. And also, it's worth mentioning, we have, drum roll please, hit 1 million subscribers!
Your noise just cancelled then.
Yeah, both of you cancelled each other out, I think. But either way, thank you, everybody, for subscribing. Unbelievable. I cannot believe that we have hit 1 million YouTube subscribers. That is quite possibly the most baffling number. When I first started, and I think Tommy will attest to this because he's been there since day one. Sorry, Katie, not having a go at you for not being there from day one. But when we first started the YouTube channel, when Tommy was, hiring for people like me to come on board, I think 100K was, very much in the distance. Like, maybe we'll be able to get to that. To get 1 million, to have all of you along with us for the podcast, for everything else that we do, it means so much to us. And I'm sure Tommy and Katie, you feel very similar.
Absolutely, it's insane. Like you say, 1 million. I can't quite grasp 1 million people because we say it so many times that you look at numbers on the screen, but if you actually think about 1 million people, that is quite insane. And yeah, thank you very much for all subscribing and continuing to enjoy it and send us all the lovely messages that you do.
It's amazing. I don't have much more to add than that, apart from thank you again.
Thank you so much.
I just get so emotional.
Right, there you go. Thanks to Elgato and thanks to you. Let's move on now to our first bit of breaking news, which happened actually today, didn't it? Out of the blue, Mr. Nico Hulkenberg is back. Hulkenberg he's back on the grid. Not because he's been given a drive as such, but because unfortunately Sebastian Vettel has contracted COVID-19 and so therefore can't race for the Bahrain GP weekend. We of course, hope that he is on a speedy recovery and that he's okay. Because symptoms can vary from person to person. So hopefully Seb is all good. But yeah, Nico back on the grid for Aston Martin. Don't expect him to get his first podium in that Aston Martin, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know if either of you disagree with that, but maybe not his best opportunity. I feel like when he had was it the Silverstone 70th anniversary was it that one that he turned up for?
Yeah, he popped it like P3 in quali, didn't he?
The car was really good. I'm not sure we're going to see those same antics this weekend.
No, I think he'll maybe be scavenging around the points. I can't see a podium on the cards. But hey, this is a brand new season, brand new regulations. Anything could happen. It could be, we're talking about Mercedes sandbagging. It could be Aston Martin sandbagging. They could be winning the championship this year, but I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, Hulkenberg is back, which was quite the surprise. Obviously, he has been Aston Martin's reserve driver. He was it last year. He was it this year. Probably wasn't expecting to be called up quite so soon as the first race of the season. But yeah, gutted to have Sebastian missing this race. But yeah, Hulkenberg, the super sub, whatever else he's known as. He's got about 1 million nicknames now, that guy. I think he's got more nicknames than any driver on the current grid. But yeah, crazy to have him back. And best of luck to him this weekend.
It's crazy it's him again, like a driver missing due to COVID. And it just always seems to be Hulkenberg is the reserve driver for that team. Yeah, I'd be amazed. Obviously, there'll be, I'm sure, lots of podium banter around him from us. He's definitely finishing fourth, isn't he? Everyone's going to break down with the porpoising issues, and then he'll finish fourth or something. But no, as we went in our predictions, I mean, we don't know because it's just testing, but don't think Aston Martin are going to be that good, but you never know because it's the first race of the season. But what is really funny is that who would have thought at the start of the season that suck my balls, mate, Magnussen and
What's quite the
Hulkenberg.
segue into that?
Wow, that you did not. You just went straight in.
I just went there, literally. Hulkenberg and Magnussen back. They're two best of friends, and imagine saying that even after the first test, that those two would be on the grid together. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, hopefully we get to see them maybe side by side into turn one as well, just to see what happens. I'm not sure. Haas seemed to be even quicker than Aston Martin by a lot of people's predictions, which is something again we would not have expected going into Barcelona or Bahrain testing, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's great to have Nico back. Obviously, he is a talented driver. He's had some bad fortune, but also just not been able to perform and get that podium. It seems unlikely it's going to happen, but as you say, Tommy, there is many things that could happen on the first Grand Prix of the season. Also, I want to apologise to everybody if I sound horrendous. It's because I'm unwell. So if I'm just like coughing or spluttering or blowing my nose for video viewers, I'm sorry. Right, moving on. Team WTF1 member Connor says, after testing, do you all stand by your pre-season predictions or are you already feeling nervous about them? Well, Connor, yes, I think we all are, especially by our 10th place prediction. We all just wrote Haas off. Nah, they're in the bin. They're finished. They had a difficult Barcelona test, but they have absolutely stonked it in Bahrain. And everybody's now, even Lando's come out and said, yeah, I think we'll be fine for Haas, fighting Haas for like P4. It's like, excuse me? Well, not P4 on the obviously fourth best team. Sorry, where's this come from, Haas? And I think as well, having Kevin Magnussen in the team is a step forward for them. So I am very nervous about P10 for Haas. I think that I would be. To be fair, though, if we're looking at other things, I think I've had an absolute worldie. At least for the start of the season. Obviously, we haven't even got to Bahrain yet. I'm not going to start gloating until Mercedes are literally the third fastest team. But a lot of people are saying Red Bull, Ferrari fighting for the top spot, Mercedes maybe third. So, if that does come true, I'd expect every clip ever from that, Tommy, to be honest with you, mate, because, 8-time champions got the crystal ball out. But apart from that, I think there could definitely be some shuffling.
Haas is the key one, isn't it? That I think if we had to do them again, I definitely regret doing them after Barcelona, but that's part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure we'd all would move Haas off the bottom probably. I mean, our sister brand, The Race, on the ground, as we've mentioned so many times, they put Haas fifth in their rankings of their pecking order. Obviously, again, it's like predicting from testing, and yeah, like you say, Lando saying that McLaren, that's another. Imagine saying that at the start of the season, that Lando Norris comes out and goes, "I think we're fighting Haas this year." Yeah, I think I'm not too much on the Haas hype train, but obviously I think they will be not dead last like we thought they were before. And I almost don't want to say it, but it seems like a lot of people, including myself, maybe, dare I say it, have underrated Red Bull a bit, because I think they're one of those teams that everyone thought, they put so much into this. This is our chance to...
Not everybody on this podcast.
This is our chance to beat Mercedes. In 2021, we've thrown everything at it to try and win. Maybe next year is the one where they don't, but maybe we all forgot that they have a certain Adrian Newey who normally thrives under new regulations, especially when they're aero, not engines like we had in 2014.
So true. Haas is a bit of a difficult one because, like you say, we predicted this before we had a whole big driver reshuffle and everything like that. I'm also not necessarily jumping on the Haas hype train. I think, as you say, the Race, our sister brand, has put them fifth, and they do have the advantage of being on the ground and, seeing them on track, whereas we're just having to rely on Sky coverage and photos and stuff like that. But, the times that Magnussen and Schumacher set, it was later in the evening. The track temperatures have gone down. The wind was also a bit of a problem in Bahrain. That might have settled a bit. So I think there are a lot of factors which definitely helped Haas set those insane lap times. And sort of everybody was checking their Twitter, be like, Magnussen's gone fast. It's like, what on earth is going on? But yeah, maybe we were a bit harsh, but circumstances have changed to like give us some credit, maybe.
Just to correct you there, it's not the hype train, it's the Steiner Ship.
Oh, sorry.
Come on,
As
all
we
aboard the
posted.
Steiner
It's
Ship.
the Steiner Ship now.
And
I forgot
he
to
sold a
mention
few
it as well.
tickets, but Katie and Tommy have not bought theirs just yet. I've bought
I
one.
might
But
risk a dinghy, I'm afraid.
Is the Steiner Ship hanging off the back of the Ferrari hype train by a little tether?
Yeah.
Put it on the roof box.
Love it. Okay, so we all know how ExpressVPN protects your privacy and security online, right? But here's something you might not know. You can also use ExpressVPN to unlock movies and shows that are only available in other countries. With so many great shows on Netflix, it's only a matter of time until you run out of stuff to watch. So this whole week, I've been using ExpressVPN to binge other series that aren't available in my country. It's so simple to do. I just fire up the ExpressVPN app, change my location to wherever I need to go, refresh Netflix, and that's it. See, ExpressVPN hides your IP address and lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. You can choose from almost 100 different countries, so just think about all the Netflix libraries you can go through. If you love anime, you can use ExpressVPN to access Japanese Netflix and be spirited away. But it's not just Netflix. ExpressVPN works with any streaming service. Hulu, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, you name it. There are hundreds of VPNs out there, but the reason I use ExpressVPN to watch shows is because it's ridiculously fast. There's never any buffering or lag, and you can stream in HD no problem. If you visit our special link right now at expressvpn.com/WTF1, you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Support the podcast, watch what you want, and protect yourself with ExpressVPN at expressvpn.com/WTF1. Next question from Team WTF1 member Claire Boyle. What team or driver performance, good or bad, would truly shock you if it were to happen this weekend? Okay. Truly shock me. I'm sure there's a few that we can all come up with. My first one would be if Russell outperforms Hamilton in the first race of the season. That would shock me. Not to my core, but I mean, I'm sure it would shock a lot of people. Because then that would then, of course, start the narrative of, is Hamilton washed? Which of course he isn't, but that's what people will do, especially the Max Verstappen side of the F1 Twitter camp. I think that would surprise me, not because I don't think George Russell's good or anything, but it's 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton with a new teammate. But what else would surprise me? It would also surprise me if Mick Schumacher beat Kevin Magnussen. I think that well, actually, no, I say that out loud. I don't really know. I think that's going to be quite even. As you can tell, I've really thought about this answer. But no, I think generally what would surprise me is if Ferrari didn't win. There you go. There's my answers.
Wow, you're really like, no, turning back on the Ferrari hype train now.
You do realise that if this doesn't happen now, all the Tifosi will burn your house down.
Yeah.
Mate, I'll tell you, every single egg in my house is in one basket and it's got a Ferrari logo on it.
Oh my God. I'd be surprised with Guan Yu Zhou points. I think that would be quite a mix of things. Obviously, being a rookie and Alfa Romeo aren't looking particularly strong. They look stronger in Bahrain testing than they did in Barcelona because they had an absolute nightmare there. And yeah, what else would shock me? Maybe like Checo outperforming Max or something. That would probably be quite the shock. And I don't know, wouldn't it? I mean, I say this, I think it'd be quite funny if Hulkenberg came back and then like out-qualified Stroll or something, outperform Stroll. That would maybe be quite a shock for a lot of people and probably damage Lance Stroll's ego quite a bit. But yeah, they're probably my ones that would be a real shocker.
Yeah, mine would be if a Mercedes isn't on the podium, because I do not believe them one bit that their car is as bad as they say. I don't think they're saying it's bad, but they're obviously saying like, oh, Ferrari and Red Bull are clear, like we can't challenge for wins. Not buying it. There was a brilliant thread actually that a few people put together, and someone managed to pull a quote from every single F1 test session since 2017 and found a quote from Lewis Hamilton saying they're on the back foot. Every single one. And they have obviously won every single Constructors' World Championship. So, no.
But this year might be the year.
This year might be the year.
I think that we have to look out for Hamilton going, yeah, we're looking pretty good. That's when
they're
probably going to see
terrible.
Mercedes going to be terrible. Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. So would that be the only one, Tommy? We gave a couple more.
A couple more. I'd be surprised if Nicholas Latifi wins the race. There you go.
I thought you were going to say Latifi beat Albon, but you went straight for winning the race. Fair enough. I would also be surprised if Latifi beat Albon, to be honest, because I think Alex should be the one to lead the team there. Next question, Ryan Erdman. Curious if there are any parallels you can draw from when we entered the turbo hybrid era in 2014 to now. Maybe even more of a comparison. I'm curious as to how long it took teams to get up to speed and iron everything out. Obviously, we are waiting to see what the development curve is going to be like for this year. I think the main thing for this year compared to 2014 is the fact that both years are very much a development race. What we see in round one in terms of the pecking order will not be the same as we see come Abu Dhabi. So for me, I think the turbo hybrid era was a much bigger change because it was an engine and completely different thinking around the V6 hybrid. This one's more, specifically on aerodynamics, but again, it has the different concepts of ground effect, and the team's trying to get their head around that, and the whole porpoising issues that Mercedes and a few other teams have been really struggling with. So, I would say the biggest comparison is the fact that we can't just take what we see in Bahrain as to be sort of gospel for the rest of the year, especially because they've had 24 hours of testing in Bahrain. They've been able to get an idea of where they can put their car in terms of setup, etc. But when we move to Saudi Arabia and the rest of the season, they haven't got that luxury of all that data. So I think it's just going to be the fact that this season will chop and change. If Mercedes are off the pace, I don't see them being off the pace for very long.
Yeah, that's why I'm not too worried about my prediction too much. And even if we are to believe Hamilton and Russell saying they're not challenging for wins, you'd think Mercedes would be there at the end of the season, definitely up there. With 2014, I guess the thing was that Mercedes just absolutely dominated, even more than, I know Red Bull dominated in 2013, you can say, but 2014 was literally like every race, there's no one to challenge. It was just Mercedes. So I'm hoping and praying that no team, even if it is a new team in Ferrari or someone, I'm sure Matt won't agree with this, but I don't want them to be winning every race by a mile. And I think it's a fair comment that we just want it to be close, and 2014 was not close. So that was the worrying thing about the era, that one team might just absolutely nail it. Haas been sandbagging the whole time, and actually, those runs were full fuel, and they're actually 30 seconds a lap quicker than everyone else.
In reverse gear. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd go with that. That'd be the biggest thing for me. Just hopefully no one dominates.
Before I make my point as well, like talking of Haas, it would just be the most ironic situation if obviously Mazepin and his dad and his money is now out the sport, but like all of that money and investment they put into 2021 to make this 2022 car decent, and now it's happened, it's here, and they're nowhere to be seen. So, but my sympathy only runs so deep with that. But with the 2014 comparison, obviously there were more internal changes in terms of the power unit changing and things like that, whereas I guess it's more of an external changes that you're seeing to how the aerodynamics and stuff work on these 2022 cars. But there was certainly a few hiccups in the early start of 2014. I mean, just looking at the Malaysian Grand Prix, which was the second race on the calendar, there were several retirements. Esteban Gutierrez had a gearbox issue, so did Sergio Perez. Sutil and Maldonado had power unit issues. Jean-Eric Vergne had an issue with his turbo. Jules Bianchi had an issue with his brakes. So yeah, there's certainly lots of retirements and reliability woes at the start of 2014, but this is very much a big change, but for other reasons. So I don't think we're going to see as many technical issues and troubles with these new cars. And I mean, Formula One has become so reliable nowadays. Like, it's almost not unheard of, but it's very unlikely that we get kind of many big, power unit failures. And back in like a few years ago, it almost was like a one time every race where a car would suddenly have a big plume of smoke coming out the back of it and it'd have to pull over to the side. And we don't see that too often. The last one I can kind of think back to was maybe Perez, when he had that like almighty failure in Bahrain. I think it must have been Bahrain because he then won the next race.
Yeah, that
they
one
all
the Marshall
blur
run across the track.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be quite the level of like, oh, everybody's just retiring because of all these issues in 2022.
Not to jinx or anything, right?
Yeah, like
one thing we've actually not mentioned is obviously McLaren didn't actually sort their brake issues out. So I guess there is a little bit of that, but I agree with you that there's not anything. It's like we've said like so many times that a lot of that was because of that turbo hybrid, like that new turbo hybrid, which is why the gearbox are breaking, all this kind of stuff. A lot of that is the same. But yeah, if McLaren don't get that brake issue sorted, then that's
in big trouble.
They are, yeah. I mean, they couldn't do a race distance, which is that's going back to sort of like McLaren Honda preseason testing, where you hear stuff
flashbacks.
like that.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting first race for McLaren. They'll obviously know by free practice at the end of tomorrow whether they've been able to figure out the problems behind those brake issues. Because, you know, if you can't do a race distance, they won't be scoring any points and they won't even be making it to the end of the race, most likely. Next question. Team WTF1 member Fud Dud asks, of the 10 drivers on the grid with 0 wins in F1, who do you expect will get their first win this season? And why is it Carlos Sainz? He didn't say that. That's what I said. Carlos Sainz, no doubt.
Carlos Sainz. Oh, yeah. Carlos, I think. Russell is kind of a no-brainer. Norris. There are so many, though. This is the thing. I don't think it's going to be Yuki Tsunoda. Sorry, Tommy. Just putting it out there. But yeah, if I had to pick a name, I'll go boring and I'll go Russell.
I think Sainz will get it first. And then, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Russell won at least one race. Depends if McLaren can sort it. Maybe there's a bold prediction that Lando won't win a race.
Yeah, I don't think Lando will win a race.
I don't think he'll win a race this year. Yeah, if they're as bad as their test goes. Yeah, it's going to be. It's a race between Sainz and Russell who gets that first win, and I think you guys can also do a prediction that one of them will win within the first 3 races.
Yeah, I'll allow that when Charles Leclerc won the first 2, and then the third one, he actually lets his teammate through just for banter because he knows he's going to win the rest of the season.
They're really good at doing that at Ferrari, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. But no, it is an interesting one. I think for me, I believe Carlos Sainz has more of a chance of beating Charles Leclerc in a race than perhaps George Russell will over Lewis Hamilton. I feel like the pace difference between those two teammates may be a little bit closer on the Ferrari side. So that's my thinking. Next up, you've all done it, haven't you? Yeah, you've all done that answer. Good. The Reese B. Do you think Russell will take a few races to show his potential, or will he be on form from the start? Let me get my crystal ball out again. I personally think he'll be a couple of tenths off Hamilton to begin with. And I think that may well be a running I think he'll have a few decent races where maybe he's quicker than Hamilton. I think the recurring thing will be that he's maybe a tenth or two shy. I think he'll be stronger than Bottas in the race. That's what I think, but he'll also be prone to a few more mistakes. So that's my thinking of George Russell.
I can see Russell out-qualifying Hamilton every now and then. Maybe it wouldn't have even surprised me if Russell, is that too much? Out-qualified Hamilton throughout the season.
Wow.
I wouldn't be amazed if he did. I don't think it's going to be like a whitewash, but it wouldn't surprise me. But again, this is all just my gut feeling and prediction is I don't think Russell will be there in the races. And I think that's where Hamilton will be a lot stronger. And I think that, even if Russell is on the pace in qualifying and can occasionally beat Lewis in qualifying, whether he'll be out racing Hamilton, I personally don't think so.
Oh, well, Lewis Hamilton, I say it like he's, used to finishing 7th or something in the first races of the season. But looking back at his track record from 2016, at least, in Austria, he finished 2nd. not Australia, he finished second. In 2017, he did the same. 2018, he did the same. Finished fourth in Austria, but that was mainly because he got the drive-through penalty. And obviously Bahrain, he won it. That was actually Austria. Yeah. This is why my brain's like, what? And then obviously he won in Bahrain last year. So there is a history to him maybe taking a little bit of time to get into things. I think that's fair to say. I mean, like I say, it's not exactly like a shocking performance finishing second, like most people would take that. But maybe Russell will see that and think, well, this is going to be my chance if he takes a while to get into the flow of things, to like go ham, no pun intended, and make the headlines in for the first race of the season. But then also Hamilton, I think he thrives off I'm sure he'll thrive off what happened in Abu Dhabi. Obviously, as brutal and as savage as it was, he's going to want to come back and prove to everyone that he has still got it, that he's still this incredible driver, and that he's got a point to prove. And so to answer your question, I'm sitting on the fence.
Hamilton's not going to be able to do what he did with Bottas and just kind of be like, all right, Bottas, we'll let you win the first race, and then I'll then I'll actually start winning now and just show you that actually you've got no chance of winning the world title. I think it's not going to happen with Russell.
No, I think for Mercedes as well, obviously they brought in George Russell to nurture him into the next Lewis Hamilton. That's what obviously they're thinking, to have him as the lead sort of driver moving forward into Formula One. But Mercedes don't want, really, ideally, George Russell to win the first race. Let's be real. They don't, because that will cause a lot of storylines. What they will do behind the scenes in terms of, will it be an absolute level playing field? We'll have to wait and see. But I can't imagine Mercedes will be too keen on making their 7-time champ look anything but the number one driver and the best driver in the team. So it could be quite interesting.
Could be a Sebastian Vettel, Charles Leclerc situation.
Yeah.
You never know. It's almost underplayed. It's almost underplayed that how unbelievably exciting that is, that even if it is for which it won't be, but even if it is based on them, fifth and sixth that they're fighting for, it's still absolutely fascinating to see how that driver dynamic happens.
Yeah, can't wait for it. I can't believe it's real. It'll only feel real when we see them on the grid on Sunday, I think. Next question, Daniel Humble 10. Who do you think will win in the in-team battle between K-Mag and Mick Schumacher this season? I obviously came out and was like, I'll be surprised, blah, blah, blah. But I keep toing and froing with this one, because I think K-Mag is a decent driver. People are like, all right, calm down, it's only K-Mag. But I read that he is one of only 3 drivers to get a podium in his debut. So, he's got the minerals, as I like to say.
And then never did it again. Well done.
Never did it again, but at least he's got one. But
more than I've got, so.
I think K-Mag will probably come out on top in this inter-team battle between Mick Schumacher and K-Mag, but I think it'll be reasonably close. I think Mick will show his potential in some races. I don't think he'll have the consistency over the whole year. Plus, I think I've said before, I think Mick takes a year to warm up. And for me, I think that Mick will almost see these cars as his first season kind of going again sort of thing. And he's always needed a year in junior formula to get right up to speed. So for me, I think K-Mag, with his experience, knowing the team really well, will come out on top in that battle.
I'm going to go with Kevin as well. As much as I love you, Mick, I think Kevin's got more experience under his belt. Obviously, he's not been in Formula One for a whole year, so might take a little bit of getting used to, but I feel like he's a very reliable pair of hands and feet behind the wheel. So yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, I'd also say Kevin, so it's probably going to be Mick now. But yeah, I think Magnussen. Yeah, no, I think Magnussen again from the experience he's got, but again going on the sort of teammate narrative, this is so good to where we can actually see what Mick Schumacher's like.
No pressure.
Excited.
Look, I'd more than happily be wrong in this prediction, because I'm sure the Mick Schumacher fanboy within me, of course, kind of, stemming from Michael, will eventually rear its head when we get to see Mick fighting with anyone bar his own teammate. So
I'm sure Ferrari are probably quite happy that they've now got some kind of yardstick that they can see as well and measure him, because that was always the thing for me that was it's almost like Mick Schumacher's destiny is with Ferrari at some point. But one, Carlos Sainz is doing really, really well. So when do they get rid of him? Probably not for very long. And Mick Schumacher, like, how can you tell he's ready if he's just finishing 19th ahead of Mazepin every race? So this is going to be really good.
Can't judge him at all.
So much to look forward to this year.
There really is. There really is. I cannot wait. But as you say, I completely agree. His destiny is with Ferrari, but at the same time, his name will only get him so far, in my opinion. And I think he has to show that he is a very good driver in order for Ferrari to give him that opportunity. I think Ferrari will do everything they can to try and, sort of hone his skills within Formula One and junior teams before that. Whether that's with Alfa Romeo or with Haas, but he has to earn his right to get in that Ferrari seat. It doesn't matter who you are. Cool. Good nods. Big nods. Cool. Good
I was
stuff.
expecting you to go on to the next question, even though there isn't one.
There is no other questions. So that's why I didn't know if either of you had any more points. But speaking of points, final thoughts, Katie.
Oh, you meanie. Why would you go to me first? Final thoughts are get well soon, Seb. And also Daniel Ricciardo will be racing in case, talking of COVID, he tested positive for COVID last week, but he's bringing back negative results and he's in the paddock. So that's cool.
He back. And you, Tommy, what would you like to say on this glorious pre-season occasion? Wow.
I can't wait. There you go. That's that's just
three-word
a
preview
preview review. But I genuinely can't wait. Like, it's so exciting to go into a season and not actually know who's best for a change, which is nice.
I've got a point to make as well, because last year,
to
bring it up, but we did pre-race predictions. So are we going to do that this year, or are we leaving it? Or because normally we make 2 predictions ahead of the Bahrain Grand Prix.
I wish you told me this before we did the podcast.
I literally just thought of it now.
Hello,
yeah.
right,
Why don't we do it live?
We're doing 2 live predictions
Let's do it
right
live.
now. Here we go.
Right.
My first one is
You can't do Vettel that qualifies.
Ferrari will win the race.
He literally can't because he's not there.
Yeah, exactly.
Ferrari will win the race.
Okay, wait, let me. Yeah.
And number 2, look, this is difficult. Like, Katie and Tommy are now
spot.
really panicking because they have no idea. So Ferrari will win the race. And number 2, Haas don't score points.
I love that that's a bold prediction now.
But it is.
It's true.
Oh, 5th fastest, woo.
Woo.
I don't think
I'm going to say Latifi finishes ahead of Albon as one of mine.
Wow. Bold.
I know. And I'm trying to think of something that's a bit different and a bit exciting, but
Tommy, why don't you chime in with yours?
Yeah.
Whilst Katie has no idea what she's saying.
I've only got one as well.
Yeah, what's your first one?
Hamilton will win the first race.
Oh, for God's sake.
And there'll be so many memes about it. And both McLarens don't finish.
Okay.
Ooh,
I like
okay.
that a lot. Right, Katie, come on. You've got this.
I'm going to say Sainz doesn't make Q3.
Wow. Okay.
I'm
Wow.
going to go.
You're really
bold.
on that Ferrari non-hype train.
Yeah.
You're at the back, pulling the train back. Okay, fair enough. Well, there you go. There's your
Thanks,
off
Katie,
the cuff,
remembering.
off the cuff.
Well, yeah.
First race predictions. As for fans, no idea. We haven't asked you.
No.
So
We'll
we
add
do-
them-
Who
we'll
won
add
it
them in.
last year? Who
Huh?
actually won it last year? Who got
No
most
idea.
predictions
We
right?
will
idea.
also review that on the first podcast review. Thank you, Katie. Any other questions you want to throw? Any curveballs? Any more
Do you
curveballs?
want to just throw any?
No,
any
don't
more?
don't answer that.
Yeah,
Right, here we go.
like,
Thank you,
you
everybody.
guys haven't.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to this off the cuff podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Formula One is officially back. Thank you to Katie. Thank you to Tommy. Thank you to all of you. Please leave 5 stars, likes, whatever it is, whatever platform you're listening or watching on. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you again for 1 million subscribers on YouTube. It is an unbelievable achievement. Next up is 1 million on Instagram. Tom is very close to getting that one over there on his old Insta life. And that is about it. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week. We're doing we're doing a free practice watch along tomorrow and a quali watch along. But as for the first official podcast, I look forward to discussing Ferrari's win with you on Tuesday. That's when it goes live on the YouTube. But if you want to watch it live, you have to join Team WTF1, where we do a live podcast on the Monday where you can see me react live. Did you get this live?
Live.
Ferrari winning. So
Cheers.
There you
Live
go.
reaction to
Either
Live
way,
your
there'll be
celebration.
tears. Yeah.
there'll be tears one way or another.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.